marker. It creates a stream marker so that I can create a highlight really easily and then skip that waiting for screen in editing really fast instead of having to manually remember where I was and then switch away from that. And let's also open up everything else. This should, hopefully our chat should be working, but in case it isn't, go ahead and open it up on my phone too so I can get chat there. All right, so where were we last time? We were documents, projects, mine. Good morning, Stacking. You'll be the chat tester, and the chat test was successful. Thank you. And also, good morning. Welcome to the stream. All right. So I think we were in the, was it the Rusty chatbot server that we were playing around with this, or were we doing this with like some other playground? I was hoping to have an RP for you, but I didn't give enough time. No problem. All right. Is this where we're at? Okay, so we got our Rusty chatbot server. Everything is as we expect right here in lib. Yeah, so we have extern create WS and then extern create IRC. So this is where we're at because we're creating our WebSocket right here. And the WebSocket was working, but we weren't able to send up like something else to it. So we need to figure out how to basically get, where is it? It's this sender available to multiple things. For the solution is you'll need to make a struct, then push that into the WS scope. So that was what I was thinking is like we'll need to create a scope, a struct and push it into the scope, but we can't let it be owned by it. So we're gonna have to have something that we can give like multiple owners. Oh, and you also need to put each of them servers on a different thread. You're gonna IO block yourself really soon. Yep, that's what I was thinking. But luckily, if we come to, that's the wrong one, creates IO, and we search for WebSockets, in the documentation under examples, there is an example of an echo client and an echo server on separate threads. This demonstrates using a struct as a WebSocket handlers. I think what we're going to do is we're going to look through this example and we're going to see what they have. So for example, nice. They have some different, they have a lot of different files there. A thread-based client plus server example. It also demonstrates using a struct as a WebSocket handler to implement more handler methods than a closure handler allows. We need to put that IRC handler on a different thread. Also, yeah, probably I will. Everything will be threaded. Threads all over the place. But first things first, I want to figure this part out. Then once I figure this part out, I could probably just well, the IRC only needs to be in one thread, but we're going to be able to pass around the sender for the WebSockets to the IRC handler. And that doesn't need to worry about being blocked because it's just doing one thing. All right, so extern, keep on bringing env logger, and I haven't looked at what that, I mean, clearly it's logging something. Is it errors or, I don't know. It's probably put it into a file. Okay, so we're using thread, sleep, duration, they sleep. Wonder why they're sleeping. Use WebSocket connect, listen, close code, sender, handler, message, and result. Set in function main. Initialize the logging. Server WebSocket handler. Interesting, they put this in the main function. Okay, so struct server out is going to be the sender. Implement handler for server. So handler is a trait. So they're going to implement handler for server on message. So they take in mutables reference to self and the message. It returns just a result. They print server got message, self.out message. Okay, so this is interesting. So when they get in the message, then they send out this message. So here's where we're going to want to use like a queuing service to then send that to the thread. Well, no, this is the WebSocket. So when we get something in, if we want to like do something else with it, like store it in a database or something, that's where we would do it here. On close, so WebSocket closing for blah reason, code and reason. Okay, so are we gonna open up a different trending down server after first connection closes? Are we gonna does this open up a new thread for each WebSocket connection? We need to pull let's see, self.out shutdown. So we shut down the WebSocket server for this thread. Okay, server thread. So this is server WebSocket handler, server thread, let server equals thread spawn move. So listen on this port. Well, it's only one port that's listening on. Server out, so we're returning the new server. It's out, okay. Give the server a little time to get going. So, so that's why. They make the server sleep just a little bit. Because it takes a little bit of time before it can start actually listening. Client thread. So that client equals thread spawn move connect to this one. Out.send wrap. You know, if it's interesting using threads, it makes it a little bit easier to read what that the client and thread are different and doing their different things. And print line all done. Okay, so do we want to do it like this, where we're just doing manual threads, or do we want to grab a thread handler? Because like I know there's some thread systems that are a little bit more robust than just like doing it ourselves, and they might be able to handle thread pools. I don't actually know if we need a thread pool though. Because it looks like we just need one thread for WebSockets and probably one thread for, we're gonna need one thread for WebSockets, one thread for IRC, and then just passing messages back and forth. You should only need 2 threads, so no need, yeah, that's, for some reason I was thinking I might need a thread for every single client that was connecting into the server, but it doesn't look like that's the case. So, also it doesn't matter because there's only gonna be one client connecting, so we should be fine there. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and see if we could do this. I wonder if it would be best to do this in 2 different files. One for the, so we have, well, I guess 3 different files. The main library, and then we're gonna pull in with mod. We're essentially gonna pull in, I guess it's not really pull in, it's just saying, hey, we also have these 2 other modules, the WebSockets and then the IRC that are over here. And of course, they're all implementing themselves in different threads. That might be a little bit easier because they're not both in the same file. And I don't have to touch each other either. So I vaguely remember how to do that. So library, no, Rust lang library mod in the file system. Right, so we have mod network. But if I just do like mod other than the name, this brings me back to how Rust handles different files. Yeah. Don't want, these are all still all in lib. This is it, mod clan. I would say that's so far my biggest pet peeve with Rust. That and the slow compile times. We've finally been like working on projects that have like really slow compile times, and we haven't brought in that much external complication to it. At least it doesn't feel like that. Okay, so if I do mod client, first let's replace the client module code. So if I do mod client, the theory of what I'm hoping to do, so then in another file, it's client, right? Good morning, Tech Johnson. Welcome to the stream. Let's try that. So in LibRS, I think what I'm gonna do is just comment out everything here. And we'll pull in things based upon how we want them to. But to begin with, I'm gonna first say, okay, so mod WebSocket, and then the other thing is gonna be mod so file not found for module WebSocket. Name the file either WebSocket rs or WebSocket/mod rs. So WebSocket rs. So in here, socket.rs. And in here, do I need to do anything else, or can I just do like a print line hello from the WebSocket library file? Macros that expand to items must either be surrounded with braces or followed by a semicolon or followed by a semicolon. Okay, so you're not unhappy anymore. Can I, oh right, main RS is gonna be unhappy. I think I'm gonna want to comment you out, and we'll just do print line hello world. Sort of like resetting just a little bit here. And cargo run. Okay, macros that expand items must either be surrounded with braces or followed by a semicolon. Print line. So that error is really funny because this thing followed by a semicolon, it is followed by a semicolon right there, but clearly it's unhappy because it needs to be it wants to be in a block. So we can do that. Oh, now what are you upset about? Expected item found nothing. Okay, so I'm doing this wrong. Okay, so we're still declaring client module here, but by replacing a block with a semicolon, we're telling Rust to look in another location for the code defined within the scope of the client module. In other words, the line client mod means this. Now we need to create the external file. Let's see. So in the other files, function connect on server. Right, okay, so we have a client. So where's the client coming from? How do we call it? Well, I guess that might be a better question is, okay, so if I do this, pub function say hello. Doesn't take anything in, doesn't return anything, just print lines, hello world. Okay, you should be fine here now, right? Yeah, so you're not being used. This is inside of mod WebSocket. So we want to use extern crate Rusty chatbot server. Then we're going to want to use Rusty chatbot server. It can't find it, of course, and it's going to be WebSocket. So, or does not account. Could I just do say hello directly after this? No. Okay, WebSocket. Say hello. And then in here, say hello. Unresolved import, Rusty chatbot server. WebSocket could not find WebSocket in Rusty chatbot server. Okay, so that's not the way to pull it in. Do I have to pub that too? Let's try running this with a real compiler. Okay, so that just works fine. This needs to be pub, right? If I remove that, it gets upset, I bet. Function is never used, say hello, and module is private. Okay, so we do this to be pub if we're going to use it from the okay, if we're going to use it from main. So main right here. Let's not worry about this now. And I have an empty main. And WebSocket away. Okay, so say hello is not being used. If I, for instance, just call say hello here. Will you run? No. Expected. Oh, I can only do. So in here, I would want to use my tests. That is CFG test. Okay, so CFG test. I'm not completely sure we're gonna have like how much we know we're gonna have test-driven development here, but let's try at least. Okay. CFG test, then we have mod tests. We're going to do function says hello. Let's see. So assert equal. Oh, we need the super. So use super star. Assert equal. We're going to have say hello. Should equal to hello, which means here I just want this to be a return. So the string hello. All right, we've gotten some errors there, but mismatch types expected. Oh, right, because I did not. This initially wasn't returning anything, so just do a stir. Oh, right. This is going to have to be a string. And you're going to have to be .to owned. All right. And the tests are fine. Functions never used says. Right. Well, I mean, it's not used for real because tests don't count. Okay, so we've got this module working. We figured out how that entire thing works, and we have in place to do tests if we're able to actually do that. So let's now set up the WebSocket inside of here. Okay, so we're going to need to use extern create WebSocket and extern create. So let's just start one line at a time. Extern create WebSocket. Extern create WS. Whoa. We're not going to use the logger here. We're going to need threads. So use standard thread. Standard thread. The next thing we're gonna have to figure out is how are we going to pull in. Like, I don't think I need access to each thread, right? I will need to figure out how to do the messaging to pass back and forth. But I won't worry about that this second right now. We can refactor that in. Apparently we need to sleep for 10 milliseconds after setting this up, which is fine. So we need to use standard thread sleep. Use standard time duration. Okay, so then use WebSocket. Oh, RLS 1.0 RC got released yesterday. It might be worth doing an update really quick to see if it makes RLS suck less. All right, let's see if I can do that. I wonder. Okay, so I installed. Is that Rust up? Like, basically, what is that going to be? Rust up. Yeah, it's just the Rust up update. Cool. Okay, so Rust up update. Oh, so a new version of Rust for me too. Or latest update. Oh, latest update on Rust nightly. So it's downloading that. All right, well that's happening. So use WebSocket. We need connect, listen, close code, sender, handler, message, and result. That's a lot. Okay, so use WebSocket. And then in here, we're going to have connect. Whoa, I didn't want all of you. Connect, listen. Sorry, Europeans for the American month, day, day. That's fine. Actually, I use this for command line file things. Okay, so stable unchanged, but RLS, installing component RLS, RustC, Rust standard, cargo, RustDocs, RLS preview, Rust source, Rust analysis. Let's just do this for right now. Semicolon. Unresolved import WS. Did you mean self WS? It's okay. Let's go ahead and restart VS Code. All right, so we'll open up code again here. Let's see if it reinitializes. RLS indexing. Unresolved import WS. Do we actually need to pull that in because it's a library? Cargo run. Yeah, I do. Okay, so did you mean self WS? I wonder if RLS has a version command to see if you have. That's a good question. In here, can I do RLS? Ooh, I can. That okay. So RLS dash version. I'm at 0128. Okay, so rust up dash H. Show the active installed tool chains. Okay, so rust up show. Oh, this isn't showing. It doesn't show RLS. Okay. Okay, so I'm not seeing necessarily how to set that. Because I don't want to. I want to like use nightly. I want to use stable for the compiler, and I want to use, I guess, nightly for RLS. Should be the rest up component. Modified toolchains installed components. Okay, so let's try that. Rest up component. List. Ooh boy. Okay, so RLS preview. Okay, so this doesn't give me the version number. Add a component to the REST toolchain, remove, well, this doesn't change anything. Like I can't, well, unless I can do something else for it. Okay, help. Print this message or help with a given subcommand. So if I do up arrow, list, help, no, it's in help instead of list, and then we want add. Okay, so target and toolchain names such as stable, nightly, or 180. For more information, see rest up, help toolchain. That doesn't necessarily help too much. Okay, so if I want nightly options and then a component, so can I do add RLS nightly? Toolchain does not contain the component RLS for target. So that's not giving me the nightly, like, so it's not giving me the latest version. We have RLS preview x84. If I do this, rest up component add RLS, can I do nightly? Nightly? Toolchain stable x86-64 unknown Linux GNU does not contain component. Okay, so that so this is becoming more effort than it's being worth. So component add options. Yeah. I wonder if VS Code has any help here. There's this RLS. There's no update to it, right? No, I don't see an update to it. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about it too much. Maybe in a future video I'll try one of the other editors and see if that's any better. Right now this is sort of becoming more of a pain than it's worth. Okay, so we need self WS. Then suddenly it's happier. We're pulling in connect, so listen and close code. Keep on auto completing for me. So I'm gonna copy these in. How did that copy everything? Okay, so close code. Okay, so use self WS, connect, listen, close code, sender, handler, message, and result, and then we click out of this. So that's all fine. Then we have our function main, so that will be inside of this entire library here, or this module. We don't need to initialize the logger, so we need to create our structure. So struct server. So that's going to be here. So do I want to say what struct server? So I don't think I can really say it like test out sender, but I probably can test that it's going to have the, what does it need? So I can't test this really, or this, but I can test the URL that it's going to be on, the port, and that's pretty much it. The URL and the port. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Function says hello. You can change this to function. So this is really the config for it, isn't it? I guess it's the server. Or do we want a config also? We probably want a config for it, and then the server will be another structure. Okay, so I guess for right then, we'll just continue on and we'll use the config as soon as we need it. So struct server out sender. Struct server is going to be out, and it's a type sender. We're going to implement the trait handler for the server. Handler for server. Okay, so the functions that we need to implement will be on message and on close. So function on message. Here it is. Okay, so function on message. This is going to take a reference, a mutable reference to self and the message, and return a result. Oh, I was hoping that it would autofill in the rest of that. So the mutable reference, so mutable reference to self, and the message, which is a type message. And it's going to return a result of just nothing. And this is going to be private because it's internal to here. Okay, so print line server got message. So I think that's fine. We can do that. Print line server got message. And this doesn't need to be anything crazy. It's just our message. And then self.out send. So here we're now gonna, okay, so we have our out sender. Do we really care about shadowing the on message and on close functions? That's a good question. I don't know if we need to. So this is just mirroring what we're getting, right? We have, yeah, we probably don't care about this because we just care about out is how we're going to send something out. Although this really quickly allows us to verify that it's working because we can send something to it and we'll get something back. Self.out. Right, because I don't think this doesn't have access to this out. So if I wanted to mirror it, so I think in the end, probably not. We're probably going to get rid of this, but I think for testing, this might be good just to make sure that we've got it working. So I am going to do this out. I'm going to mirror on message. Shutting down server after first collection closes. I don't think I need to do on close though. So on message, I'm going to do that one. So it's going to be self dot out dot send, and it's going to be our message. Oh, and we need to return that. Right, because send returns this result thing. You're upset. Expected identifier. Oh yeah, it's because I'm in the middle of doing this. Okay, so we don't need on close, I don't think. Server thread. So that server equals thread spawn move. Okay, so where do we want to put the thread spawning code? Is that going to be in this file right here, or is that going to be in this main library? Because we can put that into run too. We could have, we're going to need the ability to send messages to it. And do we need the send messages for each individual thread or just the general send messages? Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. We'll have to refamiliarize ourselves with threads. Okay, so let server equals thread spawn. We move into it. Specifically, we need the server structure gets moved in. And then we're able to do out. Oh, we're passed out. And then we send that. Oh, so this server struct is going to be consumed by this thread. Okay, so that's fine. So that server equals thread spawn. All right, let's for right now just put it into this module, and then we will worry about where to put it later. Also, this is let server equals. Are we doing anything with this server ever again? Eight to 11 matches, but I'm not seeing anything. Well, actually, you're not highlighting anything. Highlight all. So let server with a lowercase s match case. Give the server. Aha. Okay. So let underscore server.join. So it's able to join them right here to like make sure it finishes up, but we're not going to worry about that. Yeah, they just do the server.join at the end. Okay, so I am not going to care about that right now. I can just do thread spawn. We can have a function return this thread, and then we can call it from the other one. I'm not going to worry about that. Let's just go ahead and call thread spawn and then move. Where do we want to do that in here? I don't think I could just put normal code in here, right? I have to struct server, implement server. Can I just do thread spawn It's gonna be our function. So we're gonna move our out into here. We're gonna listen for this this URL. Also, listen is, oh, we're moving. We have to move listen in too. That's the other thing. Listen gets moved in. So this is just a function we're using. So listen, you don't need to move the out to the thread, you move the listen. Yeah, okay. So 127.0.0.1 colon, what did I previously go? I think it was 3002, port 3002. And what's the other thing that we're doing? Oh, this is nothing right here. Then we have another closure. This takes an out. This is not being moved. And in here, now we're going to create an instance of server and pass an out. Okay, so server out, like that. We're not going to use semicolons because we're just returning this into listen. So then it's just going to be listening to it, and it's going to be using on message here to send the messages. And of course, we have to unwrap after the listen. And return that too, and semicolon right here. Expected one of bang or colon. What are you upset about? Implement handler for server. Was that supposed to? No, that's not supposed to have any kind of semicolon or anything else. Oh, self out send message. No, that was the return value. Why are you so upset? Cargo run. Do I need to assign it to a variable? So let, oh, you know what? It probably needs to be in some kind of function call. So I need like a run, don't I? So let thread spawn. So if I do something like let server equals, does that help it? Expected item found red. Okay, so I need to wrap this in a function run. We're not necessarily going to return anything, but maybe you in here, tab you in. So that server equals thread spawn, then we move. Okay, so you are now happy. We have this in case we want to do anything with it. Give the server a little bit time to get going. So sleep duration from millis 10. So we can do that. So we're gonna do sleep. Duration as millis 10. Expected value found struct duration. Duration colon. That's what I did. Okay. Client thread, we don't need to do a client. We're not working with that. And then we're not going to join these together because we don't want to wait for them to end. They will never end, hopefully, because they won't be shutting down. They won't be shutting down at the end, so we don't need a print line either. Okay, so with that in mind, we have our function run. We don't have any tests to run for this. That's the reason why these are not there's nothing to do here. What we're going to want to do is pull in our WebSockets and start the WebSocket and potentially in run. Well, okay, so in LibreS, we have mod WebSocket. Do we have access to that now? So mod WebSocket, underneath use, underneath the structures. Generate. Okay, so let's do hub function run. This isn't going to take anything. We want this to be a different run than here. Because I'm going to be just pulling things in here, no doubt. And this is going to be just running this one. So WebSocket dot run. Function run is private. Public function run. Okay. And then in main RS, we're using extra and create chastity web server. We want to use inside of the main function Rusty chatbot web server run. Cannot find function run in module Rusty chatbot server. Wait, really? It's right here. Wait, no, it's right here. Well, let's try running this and see what happens. Use of unstable library feature, duration as U28. Okay, so I did duration wrong. Let's fix that first. The duration, oh, from millis, that's what it was. From millis, 10. Okay, so that was apparently the entire problem. Also, that finished really fast. Okay, so it initialized, launched into the thread. The WebSocket didn't spawn. It did not spawn. Well, okay, it would have yelled at me if it couldn't actually find run. So it ran to here. We went to LibreS. We did WebSocket run in here. And WebSocket we have run. Let server equals thread spawn. And we ran into here. I wonder if... Can we just do a print line in here? Print line web socket spawning. Go back to the full warning. I couldn't read it in time. So unused imports, unused variable server. So just some unused. It should have. Oh, I bet it went out of scope. So it cleaned it up. But even then, the fact that server didn't get used is the error. So the server is right here. We can return the server. And we're gonna need to see expected nothing found struct standard thread join handle. So this is now run is now gonna return a thread join handle, and librs let WebSocket server equals. So that's now going to contain the WebSocket server in here. The thread is in here, but I don't think that it will, because now this will just be unused. I mean, I could run join on it, but it will just sit there and run forever. I think the problem is the main, so this main thread is finishing. I'm gonna need some kind of infinite loop or something like that. Well, the real thing would be running the infinite loop. So that way it just goes through and then can send a message to the WebSocket server. Can I just do loop like that just to keep it up and running? That's probably horrible. Wrong number of type arguments, expected 1, found 0. Oh, join handle needs, okay. So you need this. Do we know what kind of thread you are? Thread join Rust thread join handle type. Or I just give it. No, I have to give it like specific types, don't I? Or maybe not. Also, where is it exactly complaining? It's complaining right here for when I return. Can I just do underscore? Type placeholder is not allowed. Okay, so I can't do it in the function signature. All right, so what else? Do I know what type it is? Okay. How can I return a join handle from a function? Review the function signature of thread spawn. It says the spawn takes direct type F. This type must be implemented the trait F once. That implementation takes no arguments, returns an argument of type T. F also needs to have send and static. To use this information, you need to know what type your closure returns. Once you know that, that is the type that your join handle should be parameterized with. Okay, so your example closure calls print line, which is return type. Oh, so his would be just empty parentheses. But mine, this thread, so this closure is returning what? Whatever server out is. Oh, it's server. Well, hold on. It's whatever listen returns. Listen returns something. Oh, it's just a result underscore. So can I do a result? That. Now main isn't happy. Oh, you're still unhappy because of that silly reason. Mismatch types. Expected standard thread join handler standard result. WebSocket WS error because of return type. Oh, WebSocket WS error is the second thing. Okay. Expected enum. Oh, just found this. Okay, so fine. I expect only parentheses. Okay, so infinite loop now. It hasn't left, so it should be running forever. But that oh, I bet it's not actually going to run that because it's just looping, but it's not sleeping. So I should probably put a thread duration sleep in there. So if we open up message from server, hello server. Where was that? That was WebSocket spawning. We have server.out. What was this code? Where? You sent the hello server? Yeah, I think I did. Right, socket.send hello server. And then we got that back. So can I do this again? Can I say socket.send another message? Message from server, another message. Okay, so that is working. And can I... Okay, so that's really cool. That is giving us what? That is basically giving us a WebSocket server that is running here. Now, the problem is I now need to send messages that I care about. And that's gonna be done with probably a loop in the in this closure in which I send things out. So I need to go review how from the book how we're doing threads and saying that. So maybe that's the other book. So Rust, Lang, threads, messages. I'm still not sure you need the loop since the listen is a loop that should keep the thread open. Let's try that because before we may not have been working properly. I remove the loop, not everything, just the loop. Cargo run. Yeah, so take a look. As soon as it finishes running, it waits 10 milliseconds and then quits out of the application. So the listen is a loop, and it runs forever. But if the main thread finishes, it just kills all of the children threads. So I need the main thread to stay alive. Now, I think what I can do is I might be able to get away with only one thread here, because I could probably run the IRC client in here, which is infinite, and so it won't quit, and then it's going to pass messages into the WebSocket server to be sent out. So I do need this loop. It doesn't have to do anything at all. It just sits here and does nothing. But can I, in this loop, so here's what I want to do. I want to say let count equals 0. Then in my loop, I want to basically send the count to the client. Send the count to the client, increment the count, so count plus equals 1. And then we want to sleep here. So we'll just do standard thread sleep. Durations, that's going to be standard time. Duration from seconds. Let's do every 5 seconds. Close you. So then we'll wait for 5 seconds. Oh, plus I forgot about the IRC server running. Right. The IRC sending messages to the WebSocket server. Then the WebSocket server send that out is going to be IO bound. Your thread if the chat gets semi-busy. Oh, so the WebSocket server would be, I guess that's correct. Well, it could only really be running one thread at a time, from what I understand. Like, it may be able to run multiple threads at a time, depending upon like how it executes these threads, if it ends up on a different core or not, and they're sort of like weird. Because it's going to be basically running one, and then when that gets like paused, it runs the other. And so it's sort of switching back and forth. But it might run a bunch of one and then a bunch of the other. And we can't control when it's going to sort of stop that thread and move it to the next thread. Count plus equals 1. Cannot, oh right, you need to be mutable. So how are we going to send this to the WebSocket server so that it has essentially a queue of things? Like when I tell it to execute, it needs to pull the most recent thing and send that up. So we need to hand this to the WebSocket server. Let's figure out how to do that. So message passing? Maybe that's exactly what I need. Here's the idea and the slogan: do not communicate by sharing memory, instead share memory by communicating. Okay, so that's... I think you can get away with a linked list, since when you pass it to the closure, the messages would get dropped out of the list. Would it be a linked list? Or just a vector? Well, potentially the linked list, right? Because I need to be able to pass it. Essentially, this is going to be like that box that like links to different boxes, isn't it? We're going to create a new channel using MPSC channel function. MPSC stands for multiple producers, single consumer. So you use standard sync MPSC. We're going to get TX and RX from channel. Okay, so we're going to spawn the thread. We move in TX. So tx.send. Well, this is sending from one thread to another, right? I only care about the RX. Received rx.recv. Unwrap. This is still sending from a thread to the main. I want to do the opposite. Send from main into the thread. Okay, so this allows us to clone the sender. So I still don't care about that. They're both sending messages. Basically, is it going to be the same thing where I'm going to say RX I'm going to care about TX and RX. Let val, okay, so for received in RX, print line received. Okay, so I might have an infinite loop in the thread, and it's going to check in there. It's going to check to see if we've got anything in RX. If there isn't, if there is, it's going to send that on up, and if there isn't, it's not going to. And I'm going to send with the transaction here, so TX. So I need to pass RX. Into here. So where is that? MPSC. So we need to do standard sync MPSC. So use standard sync MPSC. Then in run, we're going to dereference out. This is going to be TX and RX. So TX RX equals MPSC dot. The list enclosure already consumes the struct. So if you put the message in a struct, it should get consumed. But the messages are going to come in after the thread. I need able to send the messages, which is going to be using this MPSC. So MPSC channel. Like that. So we're going to get the TX and RX. We need to run and pass it the RX in this case. So you're upset that we're taking RX. Come to web server socket. You're going to take RX, which is type, I have no idea. What is RX? Type error. Okay, I that seems odd. All right, so if I just say string, I think that what will happen is it will just be fine and then tell me what type I really should use. So if I run you again, mismatch types, expected string, found struct standard sync MPSC receiver. So see, it's being very nice to me. That's a way to do this. Okay, why are you upset? Wrong number of type arguments, expected 1, found 0. Oh no! Okay, so expected type, found type. So can I do like that? No, of course not, because I can't use underscore here. I have to specify what exact type this is. This doesn't give me any more. All right, so let's go to Google with this. All right, so this. Okay, so function signature type. Oh, interesting. So we could do like I32 could be here. So the types that are going to be sent in this case, we're just sending in numbers. So we can just say I32. Unsigned 32, U32. And it'll probably be strings. Access to extern crates through Prelude is experimental. Okay, so I need really, but you're standard. You're not an external crate. You're just okay. Fine. I'll just use. I'll just pull in this. Okay, so using that. All right, so that should give us receiver. Now it's just unused, but let's make sure that this works. Okay, so just a bunch of unused. That's fine. Now we're going to be moving in, and that's fine. It's going to consume this receiver in the server in this closure. We're going to listen. Then we can, I think we can send now here too. Oh. Are we going to run into the same problem where it won't ever really send the messages if we do like an infinite loop here? Because it needs to actually return this. Because I don't want to do just. I don't want to do on message. Because I don't want to have to send it a message. I just want to send out consistently. I want to create the server and then send something out over and over and over again. Here's server.out. Can I send? So this is returning server.out. Can I actually send something directly from this server? All right, so instead of taking Rx, what if I take message, which is a type unsigned 32. We wait for a little bit. Oh wait, we don't want to do that. Pretty sure that's what we said earlier. Oh, that the servers what we wanted. I don't think I understood what you were saying. Where is that? In fact, the server is not getting used is the error, right? So I just want to return this server. Well, okay, so I'm returning this thread. Do I not care about that? Oh, so we're creating this server here and returning it to this server. We don't have access to this. We're not having access to the structure because it's being returned out of this closure, which is being returned to this closure. Which is returning nothing. So we don't have access to out. I think that's our problem. Is there another example here too? Channels, a more complex example using channels to communicate with a WebSocket handler to accomplish a separate task. And Pong. Wait, on frame? No, I don't. So these are still going to be. Okay, so where am I going to store? There's channels also. Data to be sent across WebSockets and channels. This is 5 different pieces of data in a vector. WebSocket connection handler for the server connection. This is WS instead of out. Implement handler for server. So there's on message, like before. Server got the message. Self WS send. So echo it back. On close. We need to clone the channel because in theory there could be many active connections. Wait a second. WS out is not Oh, there's no move in this case. Okay. No, there is a move here. So server equals thread builder new name. So this is not. Oh, that's just naming the thread server. So we're still moving listen in, but then we have out that we're taking in. This is not helping us. Out sender. This is the client, so we don't care about that. Okay, so they're sending the message is still only happening in. Where are they consuming this? Where are they using this vector data? From that example, looks like pushing in info into that struct will get sent up. The vec is from the client. Well, right, so I don't want it from the client. I want it just like straight from the server sent. Because the problem is the server is still only echoing out what we're getting. And I think it would be really silly to have to create a client to send, which then sends up, which doesn't seem like very efficient. So this out, I need to be able to send. So we have this server, which is WS out. Where is out being used? Where do we have send? That's happening on message. So implement handler for server on message on close. Are there other handler things that I can look at? Traits, handler. So you have on shutdown, on open, on message, on close, on error, on request, on response, on timeout. Okay. Method for incoming, handling incoming frames. So I don't care about incoming frames though. But basically, what I want to be able to do is just send out whenever I feel like it. I don't want to create a mirror, so I'm not creating like a chat, which is like a lot of people think of WebSockets as just like a chat. So it's sending the message in, and then you just go propagate out to all the clients. I don't care about that. Just do a simple for loop, do a count, and push a vector into that WebSocket struct. So just do a simple for loop, do a count, and push a vector into that WebSocket struct. So the problem, this struct is being created inside of the thread. So the problem that I'm seeing is that it's not, there's no way to send the message. unless I can somehow extract struct out and have, like, when I create this struct, can I get access to it outside of the thread? Because it's in here. So it's in this scope. Now, if I have this message U32, so I can't like implement on server because I don't have access to like the actual version of it that I'm using. Can I, because I'm doing move, I don't think I can, I can't create the struct out here, right? Maybe we'll have to drop the thread for now. Well, I think we have to have the thread because it's taking over. We can't have two things that are just taking over from the main thread. So we're gonna have to thread at least one of them, if not both. We just need to find a way to like send something. Okay, so if I have this message that's in here, message type U32, we're currently sending send a message to the client. So basically we need to do tx dot, is it send? tx dot send t. I think that's gonna be the message, right? That's gonna be count. Unwrap. tx.c, the val, unwrap it, and then in the received, we're going to get the rx, or received an rx. So in here, we have our rx, which is type. Can't remember what I wanted again. Let's run that. Founded standard sync MPSC receiver. So it's receiver. We got right there. So this is going to be receiver of type U32. It's going to be, I think, moved in because it's going to go into this closure, which is really going to go into this closure here. Print line WebSocket spawning. We have server.out. Do we, I guess that's the, it's our receiver that's going to take type U32s. We can store this into the struct. So we could do this. This is going to be our receiver here, which means we have an Rx of type receiver U32. And maybe we can implement server, and it's going to be a function send message. It's going to take in the message, which in this case, no, it's going to take in, Okay, it's just send messages. How about that? Send messages. We're just going to take in a reference to self. I don't think we're going to return anything. And we're just going to say for message in rx dot. Oh, just in rx. Then we can just do self.out.send message. That's going to be an unwrap, right? Nope, just simple like that. Now, of course, we need to somehow say we're creating the server here. Print line WebSocket server running. We have server, and this is returning. When we have the chance, okay, so it returns the server running. Is there a way for us to ever execute that? I don't know. I mean, this doesn't seem all that helpful. I don't see how this is ever going to get called. So we're going to have server out rx. Printline WebSocket spawning. Just a for loop inside of the thread and do server.send. Well, I need to return this server, so I guess we'll do this right here. So we have server here. So well, this is gonna be threaded server equals server. Then we need to return the server, but now we can say, okay, now we can just do this threaded server dot send messages. That will do the for loop and out, and then we'll return the server. No, we'll turn threaded server. I saw there was an error in there. For message in Rx, help try self.rx. Yes, that is what we need. Self.rx. The trait bound WebSocket WS message standard convert from U32 is not satisfied. Self out send standard convert from U32 is not implemented for WebSocket WS message. I guess what we could do is not implement off of here and just try sending here. It's not an infinite loop for this is not really going to help us though. Oh, I need to take care of a quick spider. All right, sorry about that. Danny, does taking care of a spider involve giving him 8 shoes to help him on his long walk to work each day? No, it involves stopping the spider that was moving very fast from coming over to me. And also, good morning and welcome to the stream. Danny, maybe you can help out and let me know what things. Have you worked with threads very much? The different type of shoe. Yeah, that's a very different type of shoe. Okay. I can't help feel this is not going to work. Also, it's very upset. I use the rayon crate for doing threading. If Denver the worst spider will do is give you a little greet and move on. Well, yeah. But I'm slightly arachnophobic, so I really can't handle spiders like really close to me. Which is great because I'm down in a basement and spiders love basements. So I have to like kill a spider every day or so, it feels like. Okay. So self-out send message. You should see the louse hunters in my garden. They are terrifying. Oh no. It doesn't sound good to me. Okay, self-out send message. The trait standard convert from U32 is not implemented for WebSocket WS message. Does it need to be a string? Can I, for this self-out send message, can I just do to owned? No, as string like that. In a basement and kill the one thing that will protect you from millions of other bugs. I know, but there's too many things. I'm okay with them being like in corners or other things that are not like running up towards me. Okay. Message as strings and as expression can only be used to convert between primitive types and start using the from trait. Okay, so use from. String from, and it's this message. If you are daring enough, here is a wood. No, I'm okay with not looking at it right now. All right, let's see what next. Straight standard convert from U32 is not implemented for standard string. Okay, fine. So I can't send numbers. Good call, they're very scary looking. Well, thanks for trying to send that to me. Thanks, no thanks. Cow? Is that okay? Oh. So self-out send. I need to send something. Can I send a format? So format. Format, it's really just going to be like this and message. You're still upset. Cannot move out of borrowed content. Is send moving? Use a reference to message. What's being moved? Is it the message? Okay, so for message and self.rx cannot move out of borrowed content. Cannot move out of captured outer variable in an fn mute closure. or Rx. Cannot move out of captured outer variable in an FM mute closure. Okay, so that's the problem now. Can this... I was trying to move it. Self.rx. You know, I almost feel that implementing the server in this way is not really helpful necessarily. You're taking a reference to self with reference to self, but then self-x is trying to own itself probably. I guess I could just take and move into here. Cannot move out of captured outer variable in an FM mute closure. Value. Oh, okay. So then I have to return. Okay, so implement server. So there's no real reason to use implement server if it's consuming the entire thing. I mean, at this point in time, it would be better for me because it's still going to be the same for loop. There's no reason for me to keep this here and just put it inside of here. So we have threaded server. Okay, so I should be able. I'm just going to come back to this being, I don't need to store Rx anymore. So we're turning server out. We don't need this. What we do want to do is before this returns, we want to then just run out.move. So we're going to say for message in rx dot, well, so rx, do out dot send. You do format. I'm slowly getting it. Yes, it's gonna take a long time before I guess, like, it's just gonna take lots of repetition before this becomes more second nature to me. Format. Oh, you didn't autocomplete that. Bracket. The message. But will this work? Rx is upset. Cannot move out of captured outer variable in FN mute closure. Do we have to move into here? Yeah, we do. Okay. For message in Rx, cannot move out of captured outer variable in an FM mute closure. It's a double move. But we're running into the same problem here. For message in Rx, cannot move out of captured outer variable. So we continue to have the same problem here. Over and over and over again, which is basically we're not figuring out an easy, good way. Isn't a thread just moving that into scope though? That's what I thought. But it cannot move out of captured outer variable into an FN mute closure, the Rx. The Rx here, captured outer variable. And that's fine, isn't it? I'm okay with it taking ownership. Rx needs to be mutable. Okay, so I can do a mute Rx, but then FN mute is not sure. Yeah. Must need to take reference so it's not consumed. Shouldn't be Okay, so we have, I don't think that mutable here. We can try a reference next. Yes, that's the exact same problem. We don't need this to be mutable. Wait, I thought you were selected. Okay. Can I do reference to Rx here? Unused standard result which must be used. Okay, so then we'll unwrap. That's a good sign. Hey, this is a good sign. Okay, running forever. Let's come back over to hit refresh. And this is the problem. No errors, but it's not initializing the the socket server. That for loop is blocking the thread. It is. It's Can I create another thread? I'm getting a little bit crazy with this. From a thread, can I create a thread? Is Rx an infinite list? I don't think it is. It's a, yeah, it's a buffer, or it has a custom. Okay, so that's, here's my code. Oh, you know why? It's because in our lib, we're creating a WebSocket server. This is going forever, so there's always going to be. Well, I mean, we're sleeping between each one. If I don't bother having this for loop here, and we're just doing the old system, does this work the way we expect it to, or is it going to be blocked because of that for loop, the infinite loop? Thread main panicked. Right, because nothing was listening. Nothing was listening here, so that's why we got the unwrap. So as this loop is going forever, we are sleeping it, so it should let the thread run every once in a while. But this isn't helping. I'm kind of wondering though. Okay, so if I don't have, I still feel like we push stuff into the struct and have the thread spawn and move it. The problem is we don't have access to thread outside of that struct outside of the thread. Even if you don't put it into the server thread. I feel like we can just push stuff into the struct and have the thread spawn and move it, even if you don't put it in a server thread. Another struct? But then we don't have. Just make a struct called message or something and have the function take a ref to that struct and then add out to that struct. Add a clone of out to that struct. Okay. Let's not do an infinite loop here. if we have, so we have struct server, we implement handler for server. If we have another struct, so struct, so message, actually we have message here. Then just do a server.send. Yeah, so we call this WebSocket. And this holds out, which is a sender. And we implement implement WebSocket, which means in here we have a function named send, which is going to take a message, which is a type, to begin with, we'll just do a U32. This isn't going to return anything. I do that? Okay, no problem. Send. Then we're gonna just, send is also gonna take a reference to self. I'm gonna do self.out.send format the message dot unwrap like that. Okay, so in run, we need to create then we wouldn't want to necessarily return the join handle thread, because we don't care about that anymore. So let socket equals WebSocket. No, just let socket. So initialize it here. Problem is we're moving things in, so we have a problem here. Can I do? Oh, we want create. Initialize. We don't have access to out. So WebSocket spawning. Then can I do socket is going to be equal to WebSocket, and then out is going to be out.clone. Just really want to clone out and send it. Then, instead of returning this thread, we can return WebSocket. And we're going to return socket. Private type WebSocket in public interface can't leak private type. Okay, fine. A pub struct WebSocket. And then in here, we'll have our loop. This counts this. We send. We're no longer doing transaction send. Now we're just going to do WebSocket server dot send and then count. Will that work? No. Method send is private. Okay. So send. No error shown in RLS. Run. Of course not. Capture of possibly uninitialized variable socket. Use of possibly uninitialized socket. The out.clone. Okay. Use of possibly uninitialized socket there. And mute socket. Okay, so you have to be mutable no matter what. But the problem is that capture of possibly uninitialized variable socket. So socket is equal to new WebSocket out clone. Isn't that going to... Isn't that going to work though? I guess it's not sure because it's thread. It's not sure that this isn't going to just completely die. So theoretically this should work. But I can see it doesn't know what the content of this thread is going to be, and so it can't believe that it's gonna live this long. Now this is sort of like going into shared memory. I wonder if I can do the opposite of the Rx. If I could do TX, can I send this structure? Can I send a full structure out? So in this case, I take in TX and RX. I do TX instead of RX to send to WebSocket server. So this takes in TX. I don't need to take in mutable socket because that's dangerous. TX is something else, so we'll do string so that it will tell me exactly what I need to do. U won't be happening, and we'll be sending we won't be sending you either. So for right now, mismatch types did not send anything out properly. What did I send? Round type, nothing. Right. I guess I don't need to send any type because it's just a thread. So I could just do that, which means over here there's nothing. WebSocket fun. I'm sad that this is not telling me the error right now. I'm gonna need to WebSocket server send count. Oh, not in this scope. That's in here. You aren't gonna work. In fact, let's not worry about you right now. Mismatch type. found struct standard sync MPSC sender. Okay, so instead of receiver, it's going to be sender. And my guess is this will be sender. So I have to give it a type too. Sender re-imported here. Wait, am I? Oh. Previous import of the type sender here. So they're the same. Okay. Expected struct WebSocket WS sender found struct centered sync MPSC sender. Okay, well, yeah. So hold on. That's fine. I'm just gonna have to do, okay. I'm just gonna have to bring in this. Use standard sync MPSC, and then in here, this will have to be MPSC sender. Expected one type argument. Okay, so we're gonna send in type WebSocket. Okay, you fine with that now? Okay, a bunch of warnings, they're not using stuff, but it compiled. Okay, that's a good sign. So in here, you no longer need this for loop. We're going to return that server.out, but first we need to create this WebSocket structure, and then we're going to send it. So WebSocket, we're going to pass it a clone of out. Okay, so let WebSocket equals WebSocket, and this is going to be out. It's going to be out dot clone. Then we need to do a tx dot send. We're going to send the WebSocket dot unwrap. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be any messages. Now this will fail. I can't compile this until I receive this. And that is how I do that, right? Let's go check the book. TX in this case is for communicating between threads or server browser. It's for communicating between threads. So if you have this thread, we want to tx.send the val and vals. Okay, so that's fine. And then unwrap. Okay, so we want to just send that, and we want to catch this in receiver is rx. Okay, so over here in lib, we're getting rx here in our loop. Here's where we're going to want to now loop through. So Actually, no. WebSocket run DX. It's only going to send one thing. So WebSocket run TX. That's also going to wait a little bit of time. We have our sleep duration from millis in run. So after run runs, it'll be 10 milliseconds that we should have that transaction being in there waiting for us. So now let count equal 0. Now we should have access Rx. So for received in Rx. Should be only one thing. Is there a way to get a specific thing, like first thing? I kind of want to go to the official documentation. So Rustlang documentation. Wait, I want the real documentation. API docs. Okay, so Rx. Receiver. Here we go. So this is going to return so channel. So this is the TX. This is the RX, so recv. This sends, delayed for 2 seconds. recv.recv. So just recv gets the first one. Okay, recv. So let socket equals rx.recv.unwrap, like that. Then I should be able to do socket.send the count. We'll increase the count by 1, and then we'll sleep by 5 seconds. Will this work? I have no idea. It will be really cool if it does. Cargo run. No errors. Okay. Back to here. Hit refresh. Message from 0, server 0. Message from server 1. I hope it works. The NVIDIA event is soon. Look at this. We've got it. We're now receiving events. This is perfect. All right. So if the NVIDIA event is soon, I think what I'll do is I'll probably stop here then. But look at what we got. We have now the ability to send out messages whenever we feel like it. We can then pass that structure in to the IRC client and have it send out, or a reference to it. That's all we really need, is a reference to it. So we can then send messages. It just checked, it starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's at 10, right? Okay, so I think this is a good stopping point, because tomorrow we can now implement the IRC part of it and then receive the messages. Okay, we are so close to getting to the point where we can then create the thing that I want to create. I've been talking with people about the shortcomings of the AI denoiser they created. Are you talking about the I don't know that. I don't know what that is. All right, so this is pretty cool. I really enjoy this. I like this. We have so much stuff to clean up in here, but that'll be coming after we like re-implement everything. We can clean everything up. It'll be all good. All right. We can implement some tests also. We're not really doing good test-driven development. So far, there's nothing. All right, so with that, let's close all of these. Our changes are all good. So WebSocket server running and sending messages from librs. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and send this on up. Just in case. Oh, I don't have any of my stuff in here. Let's go grab a link to GitHub. Oh, it's not on here. Rusty chatbot server. All right, so here is the link to the code. I'm going to put it into the chat. I'm also going to make sure there's a link in the description for this video on YouTube. And the next time we'll be working on continuing on, doing the next stuff. Oh man, so this is really cool that we've got this. I don't think. Sort of thinking about what else we need to do. I don't really see anything else right now, so I'm gonna switch over to the stream ending scene. But all right, thank you everybody for stopping by and watching. We got a lot done. It only took 2 legit days to make that happen. I think also because like first we had to figure out how the WebSocket server worked. Then we had to figure out other ways to make it work. The documentation was a little bit helpful, but also learning how the threads worked was super helpful as well. All right, so thank you everybody for watching. We have the code up here. I put that into the chat window. You could also find it on the link to GitHub. I'm going to be archiving this video to YouTube. Thanks, Danny. This is running off of a Rust web server on my Windows machine. Look at Twitter for these videos going online there. I'm also doing these streams every 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Although that will last only for this week, and then we'll figure out a new schedule as I start a new job next week. With that, I don't have anything else, so I'm going to do the marker to make it